Have you heard about that? It's kind of like a little story that I don't know if it's not really a meme, but it's something that gets passed around on the internet. It's been out for a long time now, but it's about this guy who's in a classroom who tells a joke, and the whole class like is like roaringly laughing at the jokes. It's hilarious. And then a little time passes, and then he tells the same joke over, and people laugh again. And then a little time passes, and he tells it again, and people laugh, but not as many this time. And then he tells the joke again, and people are less and less laughing. So every time he tells the joke, less and less people laugh, until finally he tells the joke this time, and no one laughs at all. It's just silent. And then he tells the class, he's like, if you can't laugh at the same thing over and over, then why do you cry about the same thing over and over? I'm paraphrasing. It's not the exact way the story is told, but hopefully by that you're able to know which one I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen it yet, kind of gives you an idea about which story it is. So I got to thinking. I laugh at the same thing over and over and over. I mean, it's years later and I'm still laughing about the same thing. And I'm not talking like a chuckle or a giggle. I'm talking full-blown cracking up because it's still as hilarious as it was the first time around. And there's times that I'll be in bed laying down ready to go to sleep, and I'll start just laughing because I'm remembering about something that just made me laugh, and it was just super funny. So I do laugh about the same thing over and over and over. And there's even I don't know if you can relate to this, but when you have like an inside joke with the best friend, or just anyone in general, coworkers or a neighbor or an acquaintance, a best friend, it doesn't matter who it's with, a family member, someone, and even with yourself. And it just makes you laugh just as much every single time, or every time you say whatever the inside joke, or even if it's like a little like for example, this is like something that's just popping up because it's so not funny to anyone else except to me and one of my best friends, but we'll text the word okay, and there's a story behind it which makes it funny. And so it's something as simple as that, and every time we laugh because we remember where it comes from and why we text it. So the thing about it is that the funniness of it, it's because it's something that's like just deep. It's not a superficial knock knock joke or a just whatever. There's a deep embedding meaning behind what makes it so funny, and sometimes it's not. Like there's this autocorrect text thing, because I used to love to like look at those, and they would crack me up every single time. But there's this one particular one, and to this day, every time I come across it, I bust up laughing. And there's no significant meaning behind it. It's just so freaking funny. I'm just thinking about it. I'm just like, it's so funny. Anyway, you got the point. Things are funny. Of course we're not gonna laugh about the same thing over and over if it's a superficial type of joke, or like, I don't know. Maybe a knock knock joke will make you laugh over and over. I don't know. But when you have like an inside joke, or just something that intellectually or not, I don't know, just something in your way of being, I guess you could say, just find something hysterically funny, it's gonna have more meaning to you, and it's like on a deeper level of funny for you. And it could be a simple joke just as well, but it's very different from what the story is, I think. And so then that goes hand in hand with crying about the same thing over and over. Of course you're gonna cry about the same thing over and over. Why wouldn't you? I don't know. I think the bigger question is why don't you allow yourself to cry about something that hurts so bad? It's also a process, and just the path to healing as well. Why not cry about the same thing over and over? you're allowing yourself to feel. You feel it to your core, your soul. And if you can't cry, or if someone says you can't cry about something over and over, why not? And it's not in a way that you're holding on to something and you're not moving forward with your life. I'm not saying don't move forward. Definitely move forward. But allow yourself to feel the hurt and the pain, because I believe the worst thing you can do, one of the worst things you can do, is avoid the feelings, is to push them aside and not allow yourself to feel it. Because guess what? At some point, they're going to be building up so much that it's just going to explode. And then what? Whereas if you allow yourself time by time to just keep feeling what you're feeling, eventually you're going to heal from it. So I was just thinking about that story, and it's been going through my head a lot. And because I thought to myself, wait a minute, I do laugh about the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over, years and years later. And I do cry about the same things over and over. But I will say this. There are things that I would cry about. I mean, certain songs would just trigger the memory of it, or the pain, or the hurt, or whatever it was, right? And what I'm thinking about in particular right now is what do I call it? He was my first love, my first true love, you could say. And as I was healing through that heartbreak, I would cry. I mean, the same song would play and I would cry every single time. Why? Because it was exactly our story. It was exactly what I was feeling. And I allowed myself to feel it. I allowed myself to heal through it. And in fact, I wouldn't even start dating till I was healed from that heartbreak, because it wasn't fair to put someone else through that. It wasn't fair to that guy, and it wasn't fair to me. And how would I even have a good relationship if I was still hurting, you know? Anyway, that's another topic, another video that I am going to talk about at some point. But the thing that I was going to get to is that eventually I stopped crying when I'd hear that song, or the songs that I would hear. And that's kind of when I knew that I was getting through it. And there were times that, you know, maybe I didn't cry the time before, but then I cried the next time. Or maybe I used to cry during the whole song, and now I only cry during 3/4 of it, and then half of it, and then a quarter of it, or just a little part here. Or I would start to tear up, and then I wouldn't. And then eventually I felt free listening to it, and I would smile and just like, I did it. I got through it, you know? So yeah, there's things that I would cry about over and over that I no longer cry about, or maybe eventually I cry about it once in a while because of whatever reason, but it's not as much as it was before, you know? And it's because I allowed myself to heal through it. And so I really want to encourage you, if for whatever reason you have people in your life, or you have this idea in your head because of things that you've heard or whatever, or comments people have made, maybe you've heard someone else say it to someone else, or maybe someone has said it directly to you, but I really want to encourage you to cry about it. If that's what you're feeling, cry about it. If you feel like laughing, laugh. But really do your best not to hold everything in, you know? And again, this is just my own personal opinion on the matter. I just think it works. And I can tell you from experience that it works. I've always been someone that allows myself to feel the pain. I deal with it by myself, which might not be, you know, the best thing, but it's worked for me. I'm the type of person that I don't want to bring other people into it, or maybe I just don't want to hear the comments, or I don't want to hear they're trying to fix it. I just want someone that allows me to vent, that allows me to talk about it, and is just there listening. And yeah, they'll talk about it with me and give their insight, or if they have advice or whatever, but in a way that's not putting me down or telling me what I'm doing is wrong or shaming me for it or not listening, or they're trying to fix it and hurry me and rush me through it. All those things just don't help. And that's just my personal journey through it. And there's people that do let you talk and vent and just, they give you the space, as they say. Like, they give you the space where you're comfortable to cry and no one has to say a word. But I tend to do it by myself. I will, if I'm going through something, typically what I normally do is I will wait until I can get away from anyone around me, and I just let go, and I cry and cry and cry, and I pray. I of course pray. And I get through it, but I allow myself to feel it. And sometimes I can't hold it in. I can't wait until I'm alone, and it just happens. Why? Because it's just ready. My body is just ready to cry it out, and there's nothing I can do about it. And so I let it happen, and if people judge me for it, so be it. Oh well. In the long run, I'm better for it. So it brings me to the idea about why cry about the same thing over and over. And I thought, what's so wrong with that? I laugh about the same thing over and over. There's things I want to cry about over and over years later. Why? Because it wasn't a superficial hurt. It was a deep hurt. It was a hurt down to my core. And even with the laughter, even the things that are funny, it's funny to my core. So yeah, there's going to be things that we laugh over and over about, and there's going to be things that we cry about over and over. But why be ashamed, and why shame someone for it? Just let them be. And so I want to tell you that it's okay to cry about the same thing over and over, because you're allowing yourself to feel it. It's like this quote that says, "Perhaps our eyes need to be washed by our tears once in a while so that we can see life with a clearer view again." So if you feel like crying, cry it out, and don't let anyone shame you for it or make you feel bad for having emotion, for being a human. It's like they say, we're human beings, not human doings. And even though there's nothing about doing in this case, but be human. I mean, that's what you're put on this earth to be, is a human. And humans have emotions and feelings. And if what helps you get through the pain is crying or feeling the pain, I mean, it's like the quote that says, sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of courage. Just literally 20 seconds of embarrassing bravery. And I promise you something great will come of it. Give yourself a minute of pain, of feeling the pain. And then tell yourself, okay, I gave myself that moment. Now it's time to kick ass. So maybe 20 seconds of courage means 20 seconds of feeling the pain, of allowing yourself to feel it, of crying. And it's not just 20 seconds, but it's I mean, you get the quote, right? The 20 seconds of courage, of just insane courage and embarrassing bravery. I think we can all relate to that. I mean, I really truly believe every single person on this planet could relate to that quote. I mean, I'm trying to think of ways that people wouldn't, and I just feel like it's a very relatable quote. And so in those 20 seconds of courage could also be that moment that you choose yourself, that you choose the moment to allow yourself to cry it out, to feel the pain, to heal from it. That's courage. You're making a choice, and you're choosing yourself, and it's so important to be able to do that. So maybe it's time to ask yourself, why do you cry at the same thing over and over and over? Or maybe it's time to ask yourself, why don't you cry about it? Why do you hold it in? Why don't you allow yourself to heal from it? Why don't you give yourself that compassion? I feel like the difference between what the story is talking about and the reason behind the over and over, the repetitiveness of it, is that with the story, it's talking about something more superficial, more on the surface. Whereas whereas with, if and with apparently sound the same to me, or like, they rhyme a little. Whereas with the repetitiveness of crying about something over and over and laughing about the same thing over and over, it's because it's something that's in, like, to our core, you know? And of course we're gonna feel that way. Why wouldn't we? In fact, that's more of the question, I think. So I just got to thinking about that story, and as good intentions as there is for it, I don't agree with it. I guess I wouldn't say I don't agree with it. I mean, basically is what the case is, but I just feel there's more to it, I think would be a better way of saying it. I think it goes to a deeper level, and the story, the purpose with that story of the lesson to be learned with it, right, I feel is more for the superficial things in life, not so much the things that are on a deeper level. Again, just my opinion on it. If you're crying about the same thing over and over, keep doing it. But I also want to remind you to do your absolute best not to cling on to that. And any step forward is still movement forward, you know, and it's okay to even stand still for a while, but just remember not to stay there, and that you have so much more ahead of you, and that you are important, your feelings are important, and how you feel matters. And if there's something that makes you laugh over and over, by golly, gosh darn, whatever, laugh about it, think about it, and do things that are joyful for you. Of course, yes, do that. But remember, there's a balance in life, and to keep that balance, you gotta feel it all, and don't be afraid of it. It's gonna be okay. It's part of life, and it's part of your journey. And in order to get to where you need to get to, it means feeling it, feeling all of it. And you will thank yourself for allowing yourself to do it. And the people around you will eventually too. Because if they're not now, at some point, they're going to. And maybe they won't know the work that went into it, but you will. And when someone in your life comes along that is going through something you went through, well, now you have the tools to share with them on how they can get through it. And when you look in the mirror, just remember the incredible person that you are. And no matter what anyone else says, whatever comments are made, whatever society is saying or whatever, you tell yourself you love yourself. Because that's what's gonna get you to where you need to get to. You loving yourself. No one else can do it for you. People can help you along the way, support you through it, but no one can make you love yourself. That's something that comes from within. And I know sometimes it's hard. And it's okay. It's okay if you're struggling with it. As long as you're fighting for it. Fight for yourself. And I don't use the word fight violently. I mean hope. Have that hope. And just keep moving forward. Keep clawing your way forward. Whatever you gotta do, right? In a non-violent manner, of course. Which should go without saying, but I'm just gonna say it. I just feel like there's so much more to it. There's such a deeper level to be applied. And am I overthinking it? Am I overanalyzing it? I mean, maybe, probably, sure, maybe. But I also know that a lot of people take these quotes and stories and anecdotes, I guess you can call them, to heart. And I don't know, it's just something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, that I thought about making a video about it. Because what if someone else is thinking about it too? Or maybe if someone needs to hear this too. So I'm putting it out there for whoever needs to hear this. Alright, so until next time.